Hi everyone, my name is Aigul. I have been working in the banking industry for almost 20 years now, and I have held various managerial positions across different countries, starting in Moscow, later in Amsterdam, and now I'm here in New York. And through my experience in a big international company, I have seen great performers, great people, and unfortunately I have also seen a lot of burnouts and a lot of people struggling, finding a balance in their life, in their career, and not finding a way to get out of it. And therefore, I have started my own company here, which is called Growth Years at OpenU. And in my company, we are helping you to transform your life, to get out through this transformation. What we do, we organize for you your gap year or sabbatical programs, starting from helping you to define your goals, helping you, supporting you in organizing your travel experiences, whatever it is, whether you want to start a leadership course, you want to have experience in retreats, you want to travel to various countries. We help you organizing all your itineraries. We're helping you to organize the whole growth year program which eventually would help you to achieve your ultimate goals. So this is the company where we really work with you, develop customized programs for you, and we are supporting you throughout the whole experience, from the beginning till the end. We even would help you to pitch your program, your gap year program or your sabbatical to your boss, to deliver your news to the family, and to integrate back after you come back from your growth year, from your sabbatical. So please visit growthyears.com and reach out to us. We are here for you. Thank you. Hi everybody, my name is Aigul. I'm founder of growthyears.com, and today I'm happy to interview Lisa, who is now in process of her first gap year.
And hopefully the last, because it's going to last forever, but we'll see.
So Lisa, what inspired you to take gap year, and how did you feel that it was the right time?
So the gap year for me was a very long time in the works. So I think 2 years ago I realized that I didn't like my full-time job very much. And honestly, I've been working in tech for the last 6 years. I've been working in PlayStation, in analytics, and when I first started my corporate career, I was so stressed. I think I was so stressed, I was almost passing out because of stress in my workplace. I was literally falling asleep, couldn't stay awake. Like, that's how much the environment didn't work for me. But due to a series of life circumstances, I really had to kind of get myself together and get used to the environment, because I needed to earn money. I needed to get the documents to stay in the United States. So I really didn't have a chance but not work in a corporate environment. That was the only option for me. And I think I got used to it, and it was fine, and everything worked well, but at some point I realized something is not working. I started to get sick, very sick, and it kind of was like increasingly sick, increasingly feeling worse. And then at some point I got some psychological issues as well. I was just like getting anxiety. So it was the physical symptoms, the mental sickness, mental symptoms. I realized that something wasn't working right. So my husband and I, we've been talking about starting a business for the longest time. And due to all the stress, I realized we need a change. So we started a pet products business called Wild Dog, which is our baby. We love it so much. And during the 2 years before I decided to take the gap year, during those 2 years, we've been building the business and working in a corporate world at the same time, which was very exhausting. And basically, a year and a half ago, I said, okay, I'm done. I need to give myself like some space to really just try to do the business full time because that's my dream, that's something I want to do for a long time. And I started saving money, my husband and I started working on the strategy. So to answer your question, it wasn't really a spontaneous decision, oh my God, I'm taking a gap year. It was years of planning financially. It was years of planning how the structure in our family gonna look like. And it was 2 years of preparing the business to be in the state and at least like proving the market somehow to kind of take this risk and to give it a go.
How has this gap year changed your perspective on your personal life, on your growth, on your professional life?
So just a disclaimer, my gap year has only been 2.5 months so far. So I'm really still in the process of adjusting to the new lifestyle. But there were so many changes just in the first 2 months. It's just incredible. Kind of starting backwards, I feel amazing at this time. I feel so much better physically. I feel so much better mentally. I don't get nervous breakdowns. I don't experience physical symptoms that I usually experience, and just feel very excited to do the work every day. My husband gets surprised when I want to work on the weekends. And some weekends I'm like, I'm going to the cafe, I have to work on the business. Oh my God, I'm so excited. But the personal growth, it's been tremendous as well. So I feel like just the transformation started to happen immediately. I worked with a psychologist to work on my confidence, on some blockers that I have expressing myself, so we worked through that. I worked with a stylist, refining my style. I found a new spiritual practice that really helps kind of get my energy going and helps get me energized. And last but not least, I found an amazing mentor network called SCORE. So it was very interesting because I found these mentors like 2 weeks into my gap year. Let's call it a gap year, but it's usually like, it's not really a gap year, right? It's like gap time, my gap time, hopefully.
Your growth year.
My growth time, because like for me, it's not a year. I hope not to come to the corporate world. Like I hope not to return back, right? So my goal is to really build my business and hopefully not having to go back, right? So, but growth is like amazing, right? It describes the experience amazingly because it's not a gap. I feel like when you say gap, something is missing, right? Yeah. But here you're growing, and yeah, definitely I am an example of that. So coming back to the mentors, right? So I found amazing free mentors for the business because I felt like, you know, in corporate world, there is still this habit of getting the feedback all the time from people, right? So I feel like no matter the position, you always bounce ideas of other people and you get that sort of like, not direction, but advice. And I'm usually like a self-starter, so I don't have a problem, like I don't need direction from anyone, but getting the feedback from people who are experienced in building the business or who have been trained specifically to help people like me, being invaluable. So I have mentors from Columbia, I have mentors with UPenn MBA, and they just have so many years of industry experience, and that's really rewarding. So to summarize this whole speech, I mean, the 2 months have been life-changing. I feel like I grew tremendously as a person. I grew in confidence, which was my big issue before I left my full-time job. I feel like the environment didn't allow me to fully express myself, which really damaged my level of self-esteem. So that was an issue. And the business, we are making huge progress because I feel like we never had the time to really dedicate so much time. So it's very well structured, it's very well thought through. It was more of like trying to get some data and act on that data. Now it's like really building that like basement in the house, you know. So if our business would be the house, we are building that solid base. It's like unmovable, and that's like such a rewarding experience.
So it sounds wonderful, really, that you said that, you know, it sounds like you started your gap year. Of course, it was a brave decision, right? And everything started to come together for you. You found a stylist, you found a practice you wanted to do, you found mentors within 2 weeks after you started. But it wasn't that easy decision because you had to leave your job and you had to plan everything. What was the most worrying thing for you in preparation to the gap year?
There were a couple of things that worried me most. I feel like first is just, it's a big change, right? So I've worked in the corporate world again in Silicon Valley. Like I had a really stable and good income. So I didn't really have to think about money at all. Like the year before, I think we traveled to like 7 or 8 countries and investing in the business at the same time. So like having that amount of financial freedom, it's amazing, and the worry of losing it was really, really scary, to be honest. So that was the first one. So, I mean, of course, my husband and I planned a lot so that I can have a sufficient amount of savings to really last for 2 years without, again, thinking about, I need to earn money here or there.
How long did you need to start saving?
A year and a half. Honestly, it's like it wasn't like saving because again I got my documents in the US like that year, so I was like crazy because I couldn't travel properly for a long time. So that's why we went to all these different countries. So it wasn't like we are not doing anything and I'm saving the money. But it was more like, okay, I'm getting this bonus at work, that bonus goes to the savings account. And then I think that so half a year, it was like a year and a half, it was really like passive savings. So it wasn't like, oh my God, I have to save like this amount of money every month. It was like, yeah, just like not buying that thing, like why would I need a thing? So I feel like really switching that focus from I need things to I will create this experience for myself in the future that will be so much more rewarding than anything that I could buy. So I guess just like a year and a half before I left, I switched that mindset, right? So I was like, no, I don't need that. And I tried to communicate it to my friends as well. I was like, if you want to leave, that's possible. Just like, don't buy that. You don't need like that hundreds bag. Like, who cares? I have like 2 bags, which I bought recently, actually. I had one. So I switched that mindset. So we traveled, we went to restaurants, experiences. And then I think half a year, I was like, okay, and I was really putting like half of my paycheck probably on the savings account. And then I got my final bonus right before I left. So that was like also a good amount of money, which went on the savings account. And then I made some investments in stocks as well, and S&P 500. I'm not extremely of a risk taker to put everything in stocks, but kind of like some part of that, so at least it grows. So lots of planning, a year and a half, not active, half a year pretty active savings, and basically setting the goals as well. So one more important thing to mention, so a year and a half I told myself, okay, I will leave in a year. So a year and a half ago before I left, I planned to leave within a year. But I didn't set up any goals. I didn't tell myself, oh, hey, Lisa, you have to have that much in the account to leave. The business has to have that many sales for you to leave. I didn't have any KPIs. And that was a big issue because then a year passed. I was like, I don't know, I'm not comfortable. Like, I could have left my job at that time as well, but like, how do you distinguish? Because it's not easy to make this change. How do you make that distinction when I'm ready? Well, how you do it? You set up the KPIs ahead of time. And then when this moment comes, well, your past self promised yourself, if you reach these goals, you can leave. And with me, basically half a year before, I set the KPIs. I was like, that many savings, that many sales. Like some business KPIs we didn't meet, but at least financial KPIs we met. So I told myself, okay, now is the time. We are making this decision. And yeah, I don't regret it. So far, 2.5 months in, like best decision of my life, for sure.
So you spoke about your financial goals, but what were the other goals you set up for yourself, and how is it going? How are you moving towards those goals?
So yeah, we talked about financials, so that was a big one. But in terms of the goals for the gap year growth time itself, so the primary goal was to have a successful business that eventually going to be a source of income for myself and my husband and our dog Dusi as well. She is not very independent. We have to sustain her.
Will never be.
Well, we'll see. We are demanding parents. But yeah, so that's the goal, right? And we are giving ourselves time, right? So it's not, I don't have those unrealistic expectations, then within like 6 months, we're going to earn $1 million. Because again, for the last 2 years we've been practicing, we've been learning about the industry, about the products in the industry, so it was a lot of accumulation of data. So I really understand how much work it takes to make a successful business. So we're giving ourselves 2 years to see like real tangible results. So again, we are 2 months and a half in, but mostly it's launching a very successful product on the market, like the best dog product on the market that can possibly be launched. And that really resonates with me and my passion and my husband's passion, who also is a co-owner of the company. He is amazing with financials. Thank you, Sasha. You're awesome. Your financials are the best. So yeah, just the business, and I feel like really setting up the structure in place, because the structure, it was there, but
just to clarify, sorry to interrupt. You mean financials? He is your sort of CFO, right?
Yes, correct,
so
correct.
That people on the call don't think that it's his investor. He's investing his financial knowledge, right?
Yes, so well, as a husband, he's partially investor in me. But yes, it's just a very loving and caring husband. But yes, he's the CFO of the company, so I'm CEO, I'm responsible for the vision and the strategy. But he works in finance, he worked in Silicon Valley in banks as well, so he has vast experience understanding financial markets and setting up financial processes for the company as well. So from his side right now, he's focusing on setting up financial funnels, budgeting, everything. And for me, it's the vision, product development, and strategy and tactics. That's what I'm focusing on right now, as well as sales and marketing. But I may need some people for that. We'll see. So yeah, just summarizing, goal. The main goal is building the most successful business. And second goal, as well as more personal, is just becoming the better version of myself, who is more balanced, fulfilled, and happy, and who works every day, not because of the necessity and fear to become homeless, unemployed, and stuff like that, right? Because, no, to be honest, fear driven me for the longest time, and at this time I'm saying no to fear. Because I really want to work every day and work hard, because I really honestly want it, I really enjoy it, and I really want to deliver something to this world and to share my vision, and hopefully to deliver something to people that they need.
And how did this stepping away from your regular routine impacted your mental well-being? How did it go for you?
So regarding the routine, I honestly didn't set up any expectations regarding like how my routine gonna change. I was like, I will see as I go. Honestly, it didn't change like drastically. I sleep in, but my sleeping in is like I wake up at like 7:38 a.m. So, and I feel energized, I feel fine. I mean, I woke up at the same time when I had an office job, so that's like not really a change. I never was like a 5 a.m. wake up person, even though that's what I'm striving to do at some point in my life. But yeah, so I wake up, usually like my mornings are so much slower, which I appreciate a lot more. So I never cooked when I had an office job, just because I didn't have the capacity and the energy, and we also had the business on the side. But I wake up, I cook myself the breakfast, I walk my dog, and it's like usually a really nice slow morning that I appreciate. And I get to work around 10, 11, sometimes 12 p.m. And sometimes I bike to the library, which is also very cool. So I added biking into my life. And I bike, so it's like exercise on the go, and then I stay in the library until like 6 to 7 p.m. Or I can bike back at like 5 p.m. and work until like 7 p.m. Really, I guess the biggest change is more flexibility in my days. Like, for example, yesterday I felt a little bit sick, so I didn't work, but then I work on weekends sometimes. So I really just change my routine as I feel. If I feel like super energized, I can work for like 12 hours and do a lot of things and accomplish a lot of things. But if I feel a little bit sick or under the weather, then I really allow myself to rest, which I never had the opportunity to do before, which again was leading to a lot of sicknesses, burnouts, because that structured work environment does not really accommodate your emotions, your feelings, and it looks like when you're super energized but don't have a lot of work, you kind of do more that you want to do. At the same time, if you're really not energized, you still have to deliver the same amount in a way. So that didn't really work for me. So now this flexibility makes me feel so much better.
And how do you feel about it? Maybe new hobbies, new things you started to do?
So no, I'm thinking, so yeah, the biking, right? So biking and cooking came into my life, which kind of really enriched my life a lot. I feel like just biking to the libraries through the forest, and I showed you pictures of that, you know, just like the smells, especially now it's fall, and those like smells and the colors. It's about like half an hour ride to the library. Most of it, I think like 90% of it goes through the forest, right next to the river. So it's just like amazing, and I feel just really like re-energized when I do it. And I cook more, so it means I eat slowly, I slow down, and I eat better food, which obviously reflects in my physical well-being, reflects on my mental well-being. So I feel like I'm just a more holistic, balanced person. In terms of like any other hobbies, honestly, like I can't think of anything, but because I always feel in my day with everything, I never like was willing to compromise, oh, I do these hobbies, but I don't do these hobbies. I did everything that I wanted, but I was so burned out, so my state wasn't great. But now I do the same things that I really want to do, that I really enjoy doing, but I feel so much different. And I feel like it's a difference about not adding new things necessarily to my routine, but just how I feel about my day-to-day life. And the difference is just tremendous. Honestly, it's really hard to communicate in words. I just wish if you could feel what I feel, and you would be just surprised how much of a difference just 2 months can make. Yeah.
What you shared actually about the cycling resonates a lot with me, right? Yeah. Because I moved here just 1.5 years ago from Netherlands, and there we did a lot of cycling with my son. So it's really, yeah, it's great experience, and it's great that you have time to do it here, because in US, in New York, not that many people are cycling.
Of course.
For pleasure, I mean.
Yeah, for pleasure. And I feel like we're so lucky to live in this place as well, where we are right now. Because I mean the greenery, like New York is just like what, half an hour to 40 minutes, it's like nothing, but we live in all these like green, beautiful places.
Yeah.
We're really thankful to be here, and definitely it's an amazing opportunity. You're welcome to join me anytime. You know where to get the bike.
I still need to get a bike, indeed. But okay, it sounds so great, so inspiring, and thank you so much for sharing it. But I bet you had some difficulties, so maybe some obstacles. Can you share, and how did you tackle them?
Obstacles. This one is tricky because honestly every day I'm so thankful. So it makes like, it's not that easy to think of obstacles. I feel like the first one, maybe the only one, let's see how this goes. But I think the first one happened 2 weeks after I left my job. So straight after I left my job, my husband and I, we went to Miami to visit some family and to get some rest. So, and the whole week I was like so restless. I was like, oh my God, I want to work. I don't want to be here, even though it was like the best place you can imagine, right on the beach, like so beautiful, right? But still I was like, who cares about that? I don't care. I want to go get a business wild dog running, right? So that was week number 1. But then second week we came back home, and there was some unfinished documents, business, family things that were very urgent, but that were very important, but not urgent at that point in time. But then all the timelines were running out, so I really needed to take care of that. So second week, I was taking care of the family business and like stuff, putting things in order, because we moved to New York as well like 6 months ago. Yeah. So some of the things like still need work, right? Like documents, car documents, driver licenses, stuff like that, right? So all of that, a lot of things accumulated. And then week 3, that's when I was like, okay, now I'm ready to sit down and work. And I was like, no, I don't want to work. I was like, I feel lazy. I kind of want to relax. So I feel like my brain started to let go. So that like 2-week relaxation kicked in, and I was like, I don't want to work. It's like working is uncomfortable. Working is not enjoyable. You're putting yourself out of your comfort zone all the time. And I was like, I just started to feel this comfort zone of resting for the first time, I don't know, in like 10, 15 years. And I was like, oh, I like it. So that was challenging, right? And still in the back of my mind, I was really excited to start working. So I gathered all the motivation, and I was like, Lisa, you wanted it. You're getting it, just take it, it's right in front of you. But I think that was a challenge of some sort, just like getting myself to work. So that's like why I think your product could be helpful, because for a lot of people, it's going to be such a big change, right? In scenery, in everything, and they're gonna get proper rest without knowing, oh, like my week of vacation gonna run out and I have to go to work and I have that many meetings, you know. Without that like background dialogue, it's gonna be like one of the first breaks in so many years. And then at some point it's really hard to get back into the ongoing mode and kind of start doing things that you dreamt of doing this whole time, right? So I think that's why the guidance would be really helpful from your product, and that's important. So that's the biggest challenge I think so far. Let me think about anything else. I feel like, oh yeah, I think that's a good one. That's a good one. I feel like right now, you know, it's like a new level of taking responsibility for my actions. So when I was working in tech in Silicon Valley, I was like a priori cool. Oh my God, you're so successful. You know, like for some people, and like a common knowledge of success. Oh, okay, like in young age, you kind of got in a big company, started earning money, or good job, right? So my ego, I feel like, was riding on that status. So it's like, oh, okay. I tell everyone I work at PlayStation, they see me with a different eyes, you know? So like kind of that, now I don't have that to kind of feed my ego. So right now, basically, I'm really seeing myself for who I am. I'm seeing my skills for who I am. So I'm building that business and I'm taking so much ego risk in a way. I'm believing in the success, but if it's not successful, it means I'm not good enough. I didn't make it happen, right? So it's like a whole new level of personal responsibility, which is, I think that at first it was really hard to accept, you know, that really I'm really showing myself who am I. But at the same time, it's such a deep level of personal work as well, because I feel like at some point I just told myself, I'm showing myself who am I, and I'm not gonna give up. If I see any gaps, if something doesn't work, I'm just gonna work on them. And you know, just arriving at this not ego-driven image of myself, but at more balanced and appreciative image of myself, which I think I never had. So I'm really thankful for this as well. So it's kind of this challenge turned into a blessing in disguise.
Well, by the way, what you shared about the anxiety, what I heard many times from people I have interviewed, I've spoken to, and they shared that they experience anxiety when they think about the gap year, but also when they start the gap year, because they think, what if I'm just going to lose all this time, and then I'm going to think and blame myself that I could have done this and that, I could have spent this money for kitchen, for car, or whatever. They struggle with this anxiety the whole time. And indeed, growthyears.com is designed to help people. So, but what would you advise to people who are considering taking a gap year or sabbatical? What would be your recommendation, your advice to them?
I guess my main advice, and I stand really strong with it, is reconsider your priorities. So, I mean, if you want to take a growth year, right, it's a very rewarding experience. And I don't want to say rewarding experience, like take sacrifice. No, it's not the right way to phrase it. But the right way to phrase it is that you're changing your life completely, and that takes planning, and that takes financial planning as well, which is very important. And you know, like the consumerism culture in which we live, especially here in the US, you are fed marketing messages from all the places. And it's really hard to resist those, especially when you have a good stream of income. You don't think, oh my God, that's like, I need to really plan this money. If you have a really good stream of income, you can, oh, I need the shoes, I need this, oh, the style has changed, I need that, or I need to go there, you know? So it's like always consuming and consuming, but that also takes this precious resource that could have gone to the gap year, right? Yes. So for me, it's really change your priorities. Really have this reflection session with yourself and ask yourself, what do I want? In like 1, 2, 3 years, do I want to give myself a 1 to 3 years gap and really try to live my life to the fullest, try to live the life that I always wanted? Or I want this immediate pleasure right now in terms of like buying something, and then I won't have this opportunity in the future, right? So it's like, it's basically delayed gratification. I think there were some psychological studies actually made on children a long time ago regarding like how successful children will be in life. And basically the test was whether they will take the candy now or they will take 2 candies in the future, something like this. I don't remember the exact wording of it, but basically it's the same here, right? So you are now that child that being tested, I guess, for not for intelligence, but for your ability to really plan ahead and really go after your true desires. So the question is, will you take one candy now, which is immediate pleasures, and just following the marketing, the trends, or if you will take a box of candies in the future by taking a growth year?
Well, before your gap year, right? And I'm asking this because many people who go into the gap year, they would travel, they would visit different countries. You didn't travel that much so far. You traveled within the US, and you did also Vipassana, right? But what do you think? You lived in how many? Four countries, right? Yeah. How did it shape your outlook on the world?
Okay, so that's a separate topic completely, right? Because the goal of my growth time is to focus on the business, on the family, on personal growth. So rather than going outside and searching for things, I'm going inside. But I feel like it's only helpful because I lived in 4 different countries, so I did a lot of outside seeking before going inwards. But I feel like my outside seeking experience was extremely rewarding, painful, but rewarding. I feel like with every experience that helps you grow a lot, right, when you become a new person, you have to experience some sort of pain because you're going through discomfort of changing your old ways. And as a human beings, we have this ability to habituate to things really fast, and our comfort zone gets solidified really fast as well. Yeah. So whenever we travel to a new place, it kind of gets shaken a little bit. We travel to a new place and it kind of starts to expand, right? So we had that conversation with you before because you moved here a year and a half ago from the Netherlands. Right. I moved here half a year ago from California. But before, I spent 8 years in California, before that 3 years in the Netherlands, 4 years in Uzbekistan, and then my hometown before that, right? So I feel like with every move, and I'm talking about the longest stays here. I had like small moves as well, where I spent some time in South Korea, you know, but with the long moves, your old version of yourself kind of dies, and then the new version of yourself kind of re-emerges as a phoenix. I was watching Harry Potter yesterday, so couldn't go without the Harry Potter reference. But it's kind of like you emerge from the ashes, but you have to burn first. And it's kind of really that way because it's like every culture is so different, and every country, just everything you do is so different. So I feel like this experience of really kind of re-emerging every single time I lived in a new place made me a person who am I, which is very adaptable. Very understanding of other people, and I feel like just also in the business environment, all those skills come useful as well, because in the business world, you are one person who does everything. Yeah. And I feel like from each my lifetime in different countries, I'm taking some different skills, some different personality traits that help me to become that business owner who kind of does 1,000 things. And it really requires a lot of outside experience as well to be able to do that. So traveling is amazing, and even my short stays in South Korea, I feel like maybe they didn't kind of kill the old version of myself and re-emerge the new one, but they kind of extended that version of myself, showing me the new comfort zone, the new culture, appreciation for that culture, and new friends. And new friends are always awesome. Actually, a friend of mine comes tomorrow here. She lives in the Netherlands, and we've been friends in college. So what's really rewarding, you have friends from all those lifetimes, and then you can reconnect and kind of discover the new you. And that's always really interesting and rewarding.
You're absolutely right, actually, about having friends around the globe. It's so great. And you know, of course, we have this people in our lives because we lived in different countries, but if someone would embark on the growth year, I think that could be also one of the outcomes.
Yeah. For sure.
Well, this was very insightful, and thank you so much for sharing everything. Maybe last question.
Yeah.
What would be your advice for those who are now experiencing burnout and thinking about taking a break
To answer your question, first of all, if you're experiencing burnout, I feel so sorry for you because I've been in that situation for the longest time, and I know how hard it is to go about your day-to-day tasks, not having the energy to do them. It's like really, really challenging. So, and no one deserves to live in burnout for a long time. So my advice would be try to take the small steps to get out of burnout and definitely avoid learned hopelessness. So, I mean, for a lot of people with burnout, including myself in the past, it's really easy to assume that you can't get out of the situation. You have so many responsibilities that you just have to live the life in this way. And again, no one deserves it, and it's just impossible to sustain because at some point your body gonna just break down, right? So it's just not physiologically possible because again, our biology is still wired in the Stone Age. Just our biology is not catching up to the technological progress, to all the expectations that the current society has for us, right? So we have to remember that our bodies just can't handle that pressure sometimes, and we have to respect it because that's the only home that we have at the moment, right, on this planet. So,
and take care of yourself.
Yes, so the first step, I guess, take small steps towards making your life a little bit simpler. Maybe work 1 hour less on Friday, or start planning ahead and say, well, in half a year, I want to take a gap year or gap months, right? It could be whatever. And just, okay, say, I need to have that amount of money. These things need to be in order for me to do that. And just start planning ahead. And the time flies. I mean, 6 months is just nothing. But you can really save up a lot of energy and you can save up a lot of resources to be able to take that break, and that's going to be so rewarding. I mean, if you can't do that, just try to talk to your manager, like really try taking the steps. And if you tried several things, I honestly believe that you're going to be successful in simplifying your life, in making it a little bit better and preserving that precious energy for the tasks that matter most, and that's really important.
Yes, and if I may, I also would like to add that in the growth years, we are supporting you in organizing whole journey, starting even from talking to your boss or your family. And
that would be helpful.
Exactly, and creating the whole program, supporting you during this program, supporting you when you are reintegrating, and it's all customized to you. You know, if you don't need much support, you don't need it. It's fine. When you need more support, you get it. So yeah, please take care of yourself and love yourself. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you very much. It was great to be here. Such a pleasure chatting with you. And thank you everyone for watching. We don't know you, but you're an amazing audience. So we're happy to have you.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for
Thanks.
watching.
Bye.